What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Player Profiler today. I'm Grindberg, Mike Lindbergh, Senior Analyst for the Player Profiler News Desk, and I am here every Wednesday bringing you the news for Player Profiler today. I'm pumped to be here as your host on Wednesdays, so let's get this show going with our top story. All right, welcome back. And our top story today is we have the Washington Commanders, and they had three guys come by their camp yesterday to visit, namely the quarterbacks here, and we're going to get deep into them. Let's get going. So the race for the number 2 overall pick appears to be a three-man race between Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and now surging J.J. McCarthy. All three visited the Commanders on Tuesday and met with Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, amongst other NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport reported. Managing partner Josh Harris was also there. Caleb Williams is likely going to be a Bear with the first overall pick. So that means these three guys are heavily invested. The Commanders are looking at. So the name that has connected most with the Commanders lately has been Jaden Daniels. The Commanders are clearly doing their due diligence here and taking extra precautions to make sure they make the best call. The Commanders are well positioned to take the quarterback at the number 2 overall pick. Betting odds have shifted over the last little while, and now LSU quarterback, reigning Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels is now the favorite to be the number 2 overall pick. Daniels was the most dynamic dual threat quarterback in the nation last season. He threw for 3,800 yards, 40 touchdowns, and ran for over 1,100 yards and 10 scores in 2023. Along with winning the Heisman, he was an All-American SCE Player of the Year in 2023, and the ability to be such a dynamic threat with his arms and legs makes him a perfect fit for the Commanders' offense and new offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. The Heisman winner had one of the most remarkable seasons in college football history, consistently improving his college career, progressing as a passer. His completion percentage improved every year in college while maintaining his high rushing ability. His mechanics are tight. He's accurate as they come as a deep ball thrower. Most of his throws look really easy when they go downfield. As a runner, we all know Daniels is as electric as they come. The more advanced he gets, people compare him to Lamar Jackson. I look at him as more of like a hybrid runner between him and Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. He runs with more physicality, so that could be a weakness in his game because people think that he's a bit smaller as a quarterback to be rushing that much, but we'll see what happens. I think Daniels is the front runner to land in Washington. Drake May is also capable using his legs, though he isn't as a threat as Daniels. He had his best season in 2022. He was named the ACC Offensive Player of the Year, and he's 6'4", 230 pounds. He threw for 4,300 yards, 38 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions last season. He ran for almost 700 yards and an additional 7 scores. So he does have that rushing upside, but not as lethal as our Jaden Daniels is. The odds of him continuing his upswing is there. May had a great season, and he was considered as, the QB2 headed into the 2023 season. He has shifted from, QB2, QB3. Sometimes he was in the QB1 conversation. He's being pushed down to the QB3 at this stage, and sometimes I've seen him being pushed down to the QB4 with J.J. McCarthy getting a little bit of steam. Is it warranted? Who knows? May is a very big body. He's got a strong arm. He likes to push the ball downfield, and he's very accurate doing it. He does show some inconsistencies, though, with that deep ball, but he can hit the guys when he needs to. He can scramble. He can get those extra yards, but he's not going to make the teams are going to design runs for him, but he can make a play if he needs to. I like May as a prospect. I still think he is the third quarterback taken this year. My guess is that the Vikings do move into that 3 spot and take Drake May. I'd love to see him there, but the Commanders also have the keys to this car, so we'll see what happens in that situation. The other notable name that was visiting the Commanders was Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy, and the odds of taking him has surged in the last little while, but I don't really think that that's going to be the case. We remember this kind of thing happening last year with Will Levis pushing up the draft boards, and he ended up getting taken. I'm not saying that's going to happen with JJ McCarthy. I still think he's a round 1 talent, but I just don't think the Commanders are going to make that call, and neither are the Vikings if they do decide to move up. He had a great pro day. That's why the Commanders are bringing him in. His stock was risen all off season. He's a proven winner. McCarthy had almost 3,000 yards passing last year. Not huge numbers, but he did throw for 22 touchdowns and only threw for 4 interceptions while leading Michigan to a national championship. McCarthy doesn't have the same numbers that, Williams, Daniels, or May have, but he's clearly showing something that the Commanders liked and a lot of NFL teams. McCarthy finished his decorated career at Michigan with a 27-1 record. That could probably be why these NFL teams are looking at him. He's a proven winner. Some teams some people are saying that he's more of a game manager and he wasn't needed to take the game in his hands. It's kind of like how Jaden Daniels would do or Drake May. But that Michigan team didn't need him to ball out. They didn't need him to be in that. So, it's still unproven. So that could be a downside for him. Personally, I don't think realistically McCarthy lands with the Commanders. I'm guessing McCarthy will be either a Bronco or a Raider. No matter who is the quarterback in Washington, it'll be a nice upgrade from Sam Howell. But to give that, a little bit more perspective, Sam Howell had a really great start to 2023, and then his team unloaded all those defensive players, and they pretty much gave up on defense, and that offensive line was Swiss cheese. So they're going to have to address that offensive line. So temper your expectations with whomever gets into this lineup, okay? I'm very optimistic about the Commanders quarterback situation, but they will make an immediate impact on Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. Both those guys I'm heavily targeting in my dynasty startups and best ball at the moment. I like them a lot with the quarterback upgrade. Both are proven talented guys. So a lot of variables there as far as this quarterback situation. It's nice to see the Commanders bring in all 3 guys, give them a look. My hunch says Jaden Daniels is going to be the guy there, but it's yet to be seen. Now, let's get a message from the Podfather himself. He's going to talk about the Dynasty Dominator right now.
Now, I know many of you are looking for a secret weapon for your Dynasty League, and I have it. It's called the Dynasty Dominator App. You go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's right there. It's $5 to download, and then every year it's $5 to load the next incoming class of rookies. You can add Superflex, add tight end premium. It's incredible, because it allows you to look up players. It allows you to vote on whether a player is a buy, hold, or sell, and then see the market sentiment on that player. And you can compare their lifetime value rating from Player Profiler to their Dynasty ADP at the FFPC, all in the price lookup tool. And beyond that, we have a trade analyzer, so you'll never lose another Dynasty trade again. And in our settings, you can set this is a win now team, this is a rebuilding team, and then we let you compare players. Look at their metrics side by side. Prospect metrics, NFL metrics. It's all there. It's $5 in the App Store. There's some add-ons for Superflex and to buy the upcoming rookie class. Every year, you're going to spend $5 on this thing, and it's going to be well worth it.
It is going to be well worth it. And another item that we have that just rolled out is super well worth it, and that is our rookie guide. A ton of work went into our rookie guide. It is very comprehensive. If you have the all-in package, you will have that included. The Dynasty Deluxe package also has the rookie guide included in it, so make sure you get it because it will separate you from your league mates that rookie guide has got some important information for y'all to dig into. So make sure you grab it. Now let's get into some other headlines that showed up this week. Let's get it. So the Philadelphia Eagles agreed to terms with wide receiver Devonta Smith on a 3-year contract extension through the 2028 season. The move included the Eagles picking up the 5th-year option for Smith's 2025 season. What a move for the Eagles. I think that is a silent move, solidifying him to a longer-term contract here, which is great for Devonta Smith. He clearly earned it. He's getting, top 10 wide receiver money right now, which is really impressive. Smith had 240 receptions, 3,100 yards, and 19 touchdowns so far in his career with the Eagles. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. He posted a $75 million contract that includes $51 million guaranteed, huge cash, like I mentioned. His best season was 2022, where he helped the Eagles get to the Super Bowl with 95 catches and 1,200 yards. Over the last 2 seasons, he feasted when A.J. Brown or Dallas Goedert missed games. And, moving past this season, A.J. Brown's situation is ever evolving. You don't know if he's going to be back with the Eagles. They could use him at the end of this year and trade off his contract, meaning Smith is there for the long run here, and he's connected with Jalen Hurts for a long time. So he could be a sneaky buy in these dynasty leagues. Smith's talent is undeniable. It's clear that he is a wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside in fantasy. The Eagles passing game did take a step back last year with Shane Steichen leaving for the Indianapolis Colts. The Eagles just weren't as effective. His target share diminished in 2023, but Smith is still a fantastic wide receiver 2. He's there for the long term. If he's your wide receiver 1, you may be a little bit disappointed, but he's going to have those really big boom games. He is just 25 years old, so he should be in the thick of his prime through the duration of this new contract. He remains the wide receiver 2 in fantasy football moving forward, but getting paid like a wide receiver 1. Great stuff for Devonta Smith. This may have kind of reset the wide receiver market. So guys like CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson, who are coming in right away, looking for their new contracts, they're going to have some more juice to go off of now with this Smith contract. So continues to be a very busy offseason for the Eagles, and they are spending money. They spent money on Saquon Barkley, linebackers Bryce Huff and Zach Bond. They signed wide receiver Devontae Parker. The Eagles also, got linebacker Devin White. They also signed kicker Jake Elliott. They re-signed him. But Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox also retired, so leaving up some space there out of that 2017 Super Bowl season there. So quite a bit of movement with those Eagles, and it'll be interesting to see how this season turns out for them without Jason Kelce, and that see how effective that tush push will be without them, and see how Saquon Barkley is used in the red zone too. I think is going to be a very interesting scenario. Next up here is Brandon Aiyuk might have requested a trade. Maybe not. We're not sure. But the longer this Aiyuk situation doesn't get an extension with the 49ers, it'll get more intense. Trade rumors are picking up, and, it might become more of a reality these days. The star wide receiver is entering the final year of his rookie contract, and he's due for a big raise. He's a top 15 wide receiver, and he should be getting paid like one. There's a report over the weekend that he requested a trade from the 49ers, but that is all speculative. It hasn't been confirmed. The 49ers have a really expensive team. They have 11 players with a salary cap hit of $9.2 million or more for the 2024 season. So they may be looking at moving on from that $14.1 million contract. Given his age and his level of talent, he probably will be looking for 20, 25 million a year. And Aiyuk does deserve that, in my opinion. So, he had a great 2023 year. He had, 75 receptions, 1,300 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Great finish. And if he can get into a team that needs a wide receiver one, look out. Aiyuk has always been an underrated guy, and I think he's got an opportunity here if he gets traded. So we'll watch out that situation because, these wide receivers, a lot of movement, especially with the draft coming up and the talent that there is in the draft. Teams are a little bit more open to moving on from these guys, especially with this new price tag that's coming in. Now, we heard this week that Cincinnati Bengals star wide receiver T. Higgins is expected to stay with the Bengals in the 2024 season. People were speculative of a trade happening. Higgins doesn't anticipate the trade. He mentioned on socials, so looks like he's going to be staying with the Bengals. The Bengals did place the franchise tag on Higgins in February, worth $22 million roughly in fully guaranteed money. That's kind of the going rate right now. They were looking to maybe look at signing him a long-term extension, but that looked like it's fizzled out. In the 4-year career with the Bengals, Higgins has collected 257 receptions for 3,700 yards and 24 touchdowns. Never did emerge as that wide receiver one kind of guy, but has been a very good complementary piece. When healthy, Higgins is, he complements superstar quarterback Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. The trio is one of the best in the leagues, and we've seen them get to the Super Bowl with this squad. So they're not too far removed from that spectacular situation. So there is some uncertainty in their backfield. They don't have Joe Mixon anymore. I'm not sure that's a big deal, but T. Higgins moving back and staying with the Bengals for another season, I think is a good situation there for the Bengals and the Bengals faithful. I'm sure they're happy about that. Maybe a little disappointed they didn't strike that long-term deal yet, but that's still an opportunity, and we'll see what happens with that situation. Now, one of my homeboys, one of my Chiefs faithful, Chiefs Kingdom, Rashee Rice, is expected to remotely participate in phase 1 of the team's voluntary offseason program. According to Andy Reid, he told reporters on Monday, the Dallas police issued an arrest warrant for the Chiefs wide receiver last Wednesday in connection to the 6-car freeway crash that happened in Dallas in Texas City last month. Now the story has taken another turn. The legal process, both civil and criminal, is just beginning for Rice. Both he and cornerback Theodore Knox are now being sued for roughly $1 million by the victims in the crash. According to the lawsuit that was filed, plaintiffs are suing for about $1 million and severe injuries that include trauma to the brain, lacerations to the face, so on and so forth. So we'll see what happens there. The two plaintiffs were behind the wheel of their respective vehicles, wearing their seatbelts, supposedly. Rice faces 8 charges in the case, 6 counts of collision involving bodily injury, 1 count of collision involving serious bodily injury. Rice topped speed at 119 miles per hour during the crash, so pretty important speed there to monitor. That's pretty darn fast. Rashee Rice was indeed the driver of the Lamborghini, so this is just piling on. So the main issue right now out of the gate is that Rice is either on the hook for a 2nd or 3rd degree felony charges, which could face some prison time. So if you follow Drew Davenport, the defense attorney, he's a football guy, staffer. He's answered some really important questions. And if you don't follow him, you should be following him on Twitter. He answered some questions, and it's just speculative, but coming from a professional in the legal field, he's got some grass to the ground here. Doesn't think he's going to go to jail, but depending on what happens now, there's more stuff that could come down. Still a situation in process here. The situation should be done before the season, so we'll know a little bit more whether or not he will be charged with more if he'll serve some time. The suspension, thinking maybe about 1 to 2 games, depending on more, could evolve, could be more than that, but it's looking like probably a suspension is going to happen with how severe some of these allegations have been for Rashee Rice. So not a great situation for the Chiefs pass catcher. It's going to tarnish his reputation. We'll see what happens with the Chiefs in the draft. There's a lot of speculative motion that they may be looking to move up or even draft a wide receiver. That's a really big possibility. But the Bills are also looking to move up too. So some competition there. Just a perfect storm waiting to happen. And now Rashee Rice is now facing some more situation here. So a situation we're going to continue to follow and monitor at Player Profiler today because it's ever evolving. Now, the Miami Dolphins didn't wait until the deadline to exercise a fifth-year option on Jalen Waddle, so that's a really good situation. That was a kind of a no-brainer for the team. So Jalen Waddle is going to get exercised for that fifth-year option. CeeDee Lamb was not present at the start of the Cowboys' voluntary offseason workouts. This is not the first day of the offseason program, so he informed the Cowboys of the situation. It comes to little surprise that Lamb skipped the opening portion of the offseason workouts. It's just mainly meetings and conditioning, but he's looking for that new contract, and he's looking for it before that 50-year option sets in. He's only earning $18 million of fully guaranteed money, and given his production and how important he is to the Cowboys, he looking like he's probably getting a large pay increase. And Jason said it yesterday on the Wake and Take. It's a very important situation for the Cowboys. They're kind of in their Super Bowl window, so it's not like the Cowboys are going to let CeeDee Lamb sit out a year and hold out for a contract. They're going to get that man his money. So look for that. And it's going to add more fuel to CeeDee Lamb's fire, like I mentioned earlier, because of Devonta Smith signing that 3-year, $75 million extension. Resets the market. Lamb is likely targeting well more than that. He's probably looking at the $25 to $30 million range, similar to what probably Justin Jefferson is holding out for. So with these offseason programs happening, it's important to kind of monitor what these wide receivers are doing. This is not the most important part, but the mandatory mini camps in June will be the next one that we'll have to monitor to see what these guys are doing. And Justin Jefferson is also another one that's in the same boat. He skipped out on the program, according to Kevin O'Connell. He told reporters the other day. This one is a little bit more notable because they're not in that window of Super Bowl contention. So the Vikings are in a situation where they're a year or two off from being a contender now, knowing that they're going to have to replace their quarterback situation. So Justin Jefferson, situation to really monitor. You were hearing rumors of him maybe getting moved. I don't know about that to that extent, but when a contract is being looked at, that is also a possibility. They want to kind of get those rumors started to swing some movement from one end to the other. So another situation worth monitoring here. Now, Joe Burrow's recovery from his wrist surgery has been a positive one. He remains on track and hit all the benchmarks. So that's really good news. Another good news and another step in the right direction for these Bengals. So that's a good week for them, getting that T. Higgins, knowing that he'll stick around and he's not going to be traded, and Joe Burrow back and looking like he's going to be his old self heading into 2024. Now, Jonathan Brooks, he visited the Chiefs on Monday. That was a really interesting situation. The Chiefs could use, a very versatile running back like Jonathan Brooks. He's a hard runner, a great receiver. He's got light, fast feet, excellent stop-start ability. As a receiver, he shows clean hands. He's got a great catch radius. He's capable of making some really good receptions. He's got good contact balance, and he's good at making, tacklers miss him. So he was having a great season until he tore his Achilles, rushing for 1,100 yards, 286 yards receiving in 11 games and 11 touchdowns. He was a beast in the making, and with a great landing spot, he could be a very good complement to Isaiah Pacheco and eventually maybe upseed him and taking over that backfield down the line. And that's a really good landing spot for Brooks, in my opinion, because he could have some time to really take some time and learn the system and also recover from that injury. So I think wherever Jonathan Brooks lands, I think it's going to take some time for him to get into a game situation with the recovery that needs to happen. So Jonathan Brooks with the Chiefs, pretty interesting situation there. I would love to see that one go down as a Chiefs fan. Now, Malachi Corley of Western Kentucky was scheduled to visit the Seahawks and the Saints this week. The 22-year-old put his name on the NFL radar by catching 188 passes for 2,200 yards and 22 touchdowns in the last 2 years in 26 games. He's a dangerous after the catch. People have been comparing him to Deebo Samuel. I think that is a little bit far of a stretch, but I can see why the comparison has been made, which, is very much important for this type of NFL. Those yards after the catch, people are looking for that. Hoping he's more than just a gadget player. He's expected to be a day 2 pick, and the Saints are seeking an adequate wide receiver 2 behind Chris Olave, so that could be a very good landing spot for him. Also, not sure why the Seahawks are looking at this situation. They got 3 solid wideouts in Lockett, Metcalf, and JSN, but, they're going through the process. They have to visit some guys, and, they obviously see something to Malachi Corley that could add something to their offense. So not the most ideal landing spot for him, but I'd love to see him as a Saint. I think that'd be a good fit for him. Now, Kyle Pitts is set to score and soar for the Falcons offense in 2024. Head coach Raheem Morris told, NFL Network that he will be a focal point of the offense in 2024. This comes as great news for the people that had Kyle Pitts shares in their fantasy rosters in the last little while. He was underutilized. Raheem Morris can deliver this message regarding Kyle Pitts. I think it's a great message, and I think it's actually pretty accurate. Kirk Cousins, has been lights out when making people around him better, like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and he heavily targeted Hawkinson last year as well when Hawkinson was healthy. So I like what I see there with Kyle Pitts heading in. We'll see what happens. Kyle Pitts was the 8th in our tight end dynasty rankings on Player Profiler, and now his ADP is 63. I think that's a value. Kyle Pitts is sent to launch in a nice way, and he's headed into his next season at only 23 years old. So this could be the year for Kyle Pitts. And people, if you've been stung, I understand, but I think this is going to be the one where Kyle Pitts has a similar stat sheet to his rookie season, going for over 1,000 yards. But that positive touchdown regression will finally come, and I think he's going to see the pay dirt, and that's going to catapult Kyle Pitts into a top 5 tight end range, if not higher than that. So Kyle Pitts back in there. The Saints added wide receiver Equanimeous St. Brown. Another reason, he's a fast guy, 4.48 40-yard dash. He looks to rebound his career after a stint with the Bears. So we'll see what happens there. Not super big news, but news worth noting. Rashard Higgins retired. So he was selected by the Browns in the 5th round in 2016. He played 6 seasons with the Browns. He was the top receiving option for Baker Mayfield when he had his second best season as a pro. So some news there. Wish Higgins well in his retirement. Got some news here. A couple quarterback situations. Deshaun Watson is now throwing at full speed. Said the plan is to participate in the OTAs at some level. So good news for, I guess, the Browns and their quarterback situation. We talked about it, I think, on Monday on Tyler's show. He mentioned the quarterback situations, and Anthony Richardson is in a great spot and should be good to go for practices, which is awesome. We've seen some tape about him throwing around in practice in the off season here, looking pretty good and lean. High expectations for Richardson. There's been rumors of them, bringing in a top talent wide receiver in the draft with their draft capital, and I don't see why they wouldn't entertain that situation. I think they had Malik Neighbors there last week. Wow, that would be a cool landing spot for him alongside Michael Pittman and Josh Downs. That right there would turn into one of the most lethal offenses in the league. So something to note there. Looking at some Colts maybe bringing in some wide receiver help to increase their structure there. So all good things for Anthony Richardson. If that were to happen, he would immediately be in the top 5 quarterback discussion there if they added a weapon like Malik Neighbors or even Rome Odunze. Now, Nick Chubb will remain a Cleveland Brown in 2024 as he continues to recover from that multi-ligament knee injury he suffered in week 2 last year. What a heartbreaker for so many of us fantasy managers last year when Chubbs went down in week 2. I remember him going off the board in so many drafts really early as a first round or a early second round guy in these drafts. So my heart went out to anybody that had a lot of Nick Chubb shares last year. Great story for him. He's a hard runner, one of the best runners there was in the last little while. Pure runner, and it was really hard to see what happened last year. So some good news there for Chubb. He has a role there with the Browns, and we'll see what happens with him and his recovery. So quite a bit happened here in this last week that we just needed to kind of recap. And that's it for this week on Player Profiler today on our Wednesday show. Should have a show tomorrow or Friday and to recap what's going on. Now we have our draft heading into next week. So you're going to find a lot of news on Player Profiler on our website. So follow us and get all your breaking news as it happens, especially next week when the draft hits. We're going to be busy on the news desk, and we will be at your disposal. You look up a player, and within, I would say an hour of them being drafted, there'll be something online with a written and kind of like what the fantasy impacts will be. So look for that next week. We are going to be on fire. So that's it for today on Player Profiler today. Remember to like and subscribe to all our channels here. We'd appreciate any sort of feedback we can get to make our shows better. I'm Grindberg. I'm your host for Wednesday's show slot. I'm excited to be reporting the news for Player Profiler. Moving forward, you can always find me here. You can also find me and all my content on X at FFCanuck99. That is it for today. So be sure to tune in for the rest of the week. We have some great anchors bringing you all the top stories. I know we're going to have some NFL draft prop bet show coming up. So if you want to get the lowdown, look for that in the next day or two. We are going to be bringing you some of that. So have a great night, everybody. I'm looking forward to seeing you all next week as our draft primer hits on. So for all of us at Player Profiler Day, have a great night, and we'll see you next time.